Mental illness doesn't just destroy your todays, doesn't just destroy your tomorrows. It also destroys your memories, your past. And it's something that a lot of people don't understand or comprehend when they're dealing with their trauma, that they have to identify that the mental illness that is lying to them about their todays, saying you don't have it today, you only have pain. Mental illness is lying to you about your future. You don't have a future. All you have is pain. It also distorts your past. And I want to talk about that today. Um, like, share, and subscribe, I guess. Hate saying that. But let's dive in and see what happens. Welcome to Mark My Words. Mark My Words is the story of my journey from a place where I was shattered to where I could live again. So let's expand on that statement that we made at the beginning, that mental illness destroys your present and your future and your past. So when I first got hurt, I could not see beyond the minute that I was living in. I was in so much pain, so much hurt. I couldn't get past it in any way, shape, or form. Have you ever been so sick, so ill, so physically sick that you get to a point where you can't ever remember being healthy? I do that every once in a while. I might get sick every couple of years. And when I do, I get really, really sick for a good couple of days. And you forget that that's not your reality. You feel like this is all that I have now is pain. And that's what mental illness does. But mental illness also destroys your future. Because you can only see pain, you can't see anything past it. You don't believe that there is anything beyond your suffering, your heartache, your hurt, your trauma, your mental illness symptoms. But most insidiously, it also destroys your past. This was brought home to me by a guest that we had in our house, and he hadn't been to our city for many, many years. And he was talking about the fact that he can't drive around anywhere without seeing painful memories. And I asked him to expand on it because it was really affecting his mental health. And he was talking about all these instances where he'd broken up with a girl, or, he'd had a fight with a mate or something like that. And he said, oh, I was just walking around. I was always just this complete jerk. And I don't know why I had any friends at all because I was a complete jerk. Well, I had to stop him and say, well, hang on a second. I knew you in that time. We were friends at that time. And I knew you. And my perception of you was that you were a happy-go-lucky, good fella who got on with everybody and treated the people around him with respect. And he said, oh, you didn't know the real me. I'm like, well, I'm pretty certain I did. It turns out through conversation and working it through that it was his mind was lying to himself. And he talked about going to see some friends. And on his way to his friends, he started to go into a depressive episode, started to go into this place where he was just so negative, and he almost pulled over the car. He was crying. He was feeling so bad about what he had done, quote unquote, to these people 20, 25 years beforehand. He then started to think about it logically, started to challenge those thoughts. And he said to himself, I've already brought this up with people, and I have already dealt with this and apologized and moved on, and they've forgiven me, and they don't think about it and they don't talk about it. So why am I? I've had similar experiences myself where I lived with the trauma of something that I did, and it got magnified in my mind, so that a person came up to me once and said, Mark, I hadn't seen them in 20 years. and they saw me and they said, "Oh, remember in school you did this thing and it was, you know, I'll never forget it." And that's all they said. And we blah, blah, blah. Talk to you later. Now, for the next month, I obsessed over this conversation. What did I say? How did I hurt her? I honestly didn't recall any specific interactions, but I remember that they were in my orbit. And for a month, I was like, what did I do to him? And just the worst case scenario kept going through my head. I said the wrong thing. I hurt them. I harmed them in some way or some form. And this person, the next time I saw them, I took them aside and I said, "Look, I know that you remember me from a long time ago, and I don't remember what it is that I did, but I just want you to know I'm sorry. I'm a different person." She kind of looked at me like I was, you know, out of my mind. She goes, I kind of am. I've got a note from my doctor. But what the experience was that she was talking about was extremely positive, like life changingly positive, where it was one of those situations where they were like, they always look back on that as a pivotal moment and it made things better for them. And you know, it wasn't like life changing and I'm the reason, nothing like that. But it was just an extremely positive interaction that we'd had. And it got me to thinking about all these other interactions that I have been thinking about in my past because ghosts are everywhere. Especially when you're in a town where you grew up, there's ghosts everywhere. And this fella that came to me when it was talking about all these negative things, it was like, well, what was I like back then? And my mind tells me that I was a complete jerk. I hurt everyone. Nobody was safe around me. And that's not the case. I was actually trying to be a nice person. And that's what I said to my mate. If you had have walked around going, I'm going to rip this person off and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do this, then yeah, you're a jerk and you deserve to have terrible memories. But as I said to this guy, you were just a nice bloke. I remember anytime somebody put their hand up, they needed help with something, you were there. You were like the first person. It just got me thinking about memories. And memories are important, clearly. They're part of our identity, but they're not always accurate, particularly when you have a mental illness. This sense of doing negative things and hurting people has hurt relationships that I have had currently. I will just assume, or my mind will lie to me and tell me that my impact on that person is extremely negative and that I am hurting that person. So that whenever somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, Mark, you did this good thing or you did that," it's kind of like in my mind, I've got this ledger and it's like, oh, well, that negates one bad thing I did. So, okay. And I've got to stop thinking like that. The thing of it is your past is your past. And you might have been through bad things, you might have been through good things. But when I was speaking to this guy, the one that was just so torn up by the memories, the ghosts that were around him, and I started talking about the fun things that we did. I was like, "Remember when we did this? Remember when we did that?" He goes, "No, I don't remember that." And I said, "Okay, well, let's put it into perspective. We were with this person, this person, this person, this person. We went to here and we did this." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I do remember that." And we just started unpacking positive memories. And it was important for me too, because it's a journey that I'm still on. I do go to places and there are ghosts for me. There are places that, I'm not comfortable being in because of my distorted memories of those places. For the person that is like me and is living with mental illness, I want you to think about challenging those memories and your ability to be an objective observer, because you aren't, especially with mental illness, because that's lying to you. That's telling you things that aren't true. And it's telling you things that are holding you back, just like they held me back. Now, for the people that are loving, caring for somebody with a mental illness, you need to understand that your memories that you have are quite different in the head of a person with mental illness, because they have this liar in their head that's telling them that they have always been broken, that they have always hurt the people around them, that they have always been a detriment to whoever they're around. You can help them by reminding them of the good things that they've done. It's not an easy conversation, and I'm not asking you to run out right now and start, hey, let's start digging into your past trauma. It's not what I'm saying. But to be reminded of the good things that you've done for a person with mental illness is incalculable. I have a positive recollection of this situation. Remember when you did this? It was amazing and I loved it. And it was so good. Memories are just that. They're just memories. Now, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to recommend a song and I'm going to put it in the comments, the link to the song. And it's by a band called Icon for Hire. And this is a band that I found out about quite a few years ago now. And the lead singer just has such a wonderful way of talking about living with mental illness, what it's like. And the song is called Memories. And the fact that it's only a memory, it's not who I am. It's not my identity. It's not who I have to be. It is just a memory. I'm the person that's in control of my future. I'm the person that is going to dictate what my tomorrows are going to be like, not my past, not what's happened to me. I am going to be the one that dictates my future. My memories will have no part in that. I don't know if this has helped. I hope that it has. And it is kind of depressing when you look at this idea that, mental illness is killing your past, your future, and your todays. But it's so true. And unless we take hold of it, and unless we take control of the narrative, start telling our mind that it's lying, challenging those thoughts, only then can we start to build a better future. If you're struggling in any way, please reach out. Reach out to somebody. Call Lifeline. Do something today. Don't just sit there in pain. I want to thank you for checking out Mark My Words today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe. Ugh. It's like that and calling people guys. I did this yesterday. I walked into a classroom and I went, hey guys. And I was like, I'm so mad at myself. It's such a podcast thing to do. Anyway, have a great week. I very much look forward to speaking to you next week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Mark My Words. I'd like to thank my producer, Meredith Brosnan, and also Torian, Kevin, and Lorraine. And I can't forget the band Adelaide, who allows us to use their song as our theme.